Let's talk about herbal remedies. Do they have their place on the carnivore diet? We'll find out in today's video. Welcome back to my channel. The question gets to be, what should we do with traditional herbal medicine? Or what about traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda, the Indian medical system, a very ancient one of the oldest one in the world? Do they belong on the carnivore diet at all? Well, I had a lot of trouble putting it all together because I spent years studying TCM, studying the Ayurveda. I grew up around traditional European herbalism, which was kind of passed down to me from my family. So to be healed by all-meat diet and the traditional herbal medicine did nothing for me was a bit of a cognitive dissonance, and I had to get back to the drawing boards to figure these things out. That plants make anti-nutrients to protect themselves from being eaten is quite well understood in the carnivore community. However, the story doesn't end there. These same plants will make all kinds of other enzymes, compounds, poisons to protect themselves from being attacked by microbes. Things like bacteria, parasites, fungi, viruses. So, for example, a tree may make turpentine to protect itself from a fungal infection. But Mother Nature is super efficient. The fungi that attacks the tree is not that different when it comes to its structure from the fungi that may infect your fingernails. And so if you take the turpentine from the tree and apply it to your finger, you are likely going to deal with that fungal infection quite efficiently. Let's talk about caffeine. It is an insecticide. Coffee leaves make it so that when the bugs comes to eat it, its nervous system will get paralyzed. But since humans are a large kind of a bug, the most the caffeine can do is to stimulate our nervous system. And how about garlic and onion? We know them as nature's antibiotics, and if you look at traditional meat recipes, they will almost always have garlic and onion added to them. And why would that be? Well, prior to the advent of refrigeration, bacterial and parasitical contamination of meat was a real issue, and so adding garlic and onion to meat was a natural way to lower the bacterial and parasitical load in meat. Now with refrigeration, that problem went away, but it was a real issue prior to that. Oh, let me share with you one more fun fact. During the Napoleonic Wars, wounded soldiers were treated in the birch forest. Do you know why? Because it was a sterile environment thanks to the chaga mushrooms that were parasitizing the birch trees. Since our ancestors didn't have modern science, computers and microscopes, they had to interact with the natural world. They were an integral part of it, they were observing it, and that's how they started trying and experimenting with enzymes and poisons that Mother Nature produced. And that's how traditional medicines all over the world were born. I'm sure there was a lot of errors there and a lot of people died due to poisoning, but that's how we inherited traditional herbal medicines. While trying to sort it out for myself, I went back to my favorite European herbalist, and that is Maurice Mességué. He was born in 1921 in France and died in 2017, so he lived 96 years. So I'm sure he knew a lot about health and longevity. He is rumored to treat the Pope and Winston Churchill. He was also quite involved in his community. At some point he was a mayor of his town in southern France. This book was first published in 1971. So around the time when the governments in Europe and America started coming up with their food pyramids back then. The first one was Sweden, and the United States came up with their food pyramid in 1992. As you can imagine, this book is in a total opposition to what the government actually recommends when it comes to the food pyramid. So Maurice Mességué discusses not only herbal remedies, but also diet. So as I was rereading the book, it occurred to me that he was discussing various plants, various ways of preparing them to treat things like bacterial infections, viral cuts, wounds, hormonal issues, but there was nothing about chronic conditions deriving from modern lifestyle, especially the leaky gut. And when it comes to the diet, it will be very disappointing to most of the vegetarians and vegans, because he was in total opposition to this kind of eating. And let me quote just one quote from his book. Vegetarians have presented a great many arguments in their effort to stem the enormous consumption of meat that goes on all over the world. Their efforts are in vain. As a country grows more prosperous, its consumption of meat rises, and the health of the people seems to follow the same curve. The fact is that meat is richer than any other food in energy-giving protein. I myself favor beef and lamb over all other meats, not so much because they are more nutritious as because they are less apt to be contaminated by chemical additives. As I was going through Mességué's book, it dawned on me that there is no magic to plants or herbs. They're simply make all kinds of poisons and compounds to ensure their own survival, and our ancestors figured it out. They learned that this plant can reverse this bacterial infection, that other herb is good for this kind of wounds and cuts, and this seed will help with this type of parasite. And that's basically where traditional herbal medicine is useful. What the traditional medicines cannot do for you is to heal something that comes from the modern lifestyle. Our ancestors were not exposed to highly processed carbohydrates with lots of seed oils, lots of artificial additives and colorings that destroyed our guts. Our ancestors did not have that damaged guts as we do, and what follows the damaged gut is also disturbed gut flora. And so to rebuild it, you need good building blocks, and according to Mességué, it is high quality animal proteins from red meat. And so there you have it. One of the most famous European herbalists was promoting animal-based nutrition. His diet focused mostly on red meat with some vegetables, spices, salt, water, and no grains or any grain-derived foods. And so this is our unfortunate reality. Our guts are so damaged by the modern way of eating that traditional medicines anywhere from around the world don't have real answers. What you have to do is to get on the carnivore diet and give a good quality animal proteins from red meat to rebuild your gut lining and to restore normal gut microbiome. And then if you want to use herbal remedies to deal with bacterial, viral or fungal infections, you probably will have a lot of success. Alright, this will do it for this week's video. If you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in Friday Findings. Bye!